Dharmendra, welcome to the Commerce Talks podcast. Another GCC highlight today with my co-host Lina, also from the region. We're going to talk about the furniture industry in your region, the kids fashion industry. So a lot to talk about. Welcome here. And maybe let's start with short introduction. So who are you exactly and what is the Lals Group?
Thank you very much for having me, Alex. Hello, Lina. It's a pleasure to talk to both of you. I deeply admire what both of you are doing in terms of building the ecosystem and the knowledge sharing that you're doing. So congratulations on that, and extremely excited to be speaking to both of you. Thank you very much. Quick introduction. So my name is Dharmendra Mehta. I head e-commerce for Lals Group in the Middle East. The group is a diversified conglomerate with interests in various businesses, but a large portion of that is retail. Some of our retail brands are synonymous with the region. We run a large format home and furniture store called Homes R Us. We are also in the mother and baby care category, where we have a brand called Mom Store, which is our newest addition to the family. And we are also franchisees of a few international brands like Daiso Japan, Carter's, Oshkosh, US Polo Association. My role with the group is as head of e-commerce is to build digital journeys for each of these retail brands. Some of these brands need their own monosites. Some have mobile applications and some sell on third-party marketplaces, right? So the entire business, how to orchestrate it from a digital perspective and reach our customers is what I do. I've had the good fortune of working with Lina on some of these ideas, and I really look forward to speaking to you today.
And just for the understanding here, some of those brands do have a brick and mortar heritage, I understand, or did they start as a direct-to-consumer online experience?
These are essentially all retail heritage brands. Some of these brands are 20 plus years old. And essentially the digital business, when we say monosite, is one more store for each of these brands. So we probably have 16 or 17 Homes R Us stores in the UAE. And the 17th store is the digital store.
Okay. So maybe Lina, can you shed some light here? Because this kind of store thinking, like as an online channel, was also something we saw like in the European market, in the US market, and like it slowly migrates into a pure online thinking. Is this something you're seeing a lot also in the region, also with other brands, Lina? And where in this kind of journey do you see the Lals Group?
So first of all, here we're still offline first, and online will probably won't overtake offline stores for another 10 years. However, prior even to the pandemic, a lot of the big conglomerates started to think, how can they reach the younger set of consumers? And that's where e-commerce conversations start coming out. It wasn't just, we need to launch e-commerce. It was more about, we have different generations that are looking for us online. So to stay relevant, we should launch online channel to capture the new audience. And Lals Group was one of those. They're very, very successful conglomerate offline, and their stores are very known brands in the region, not just in the UAE, but across the whole Gulf countries. And a number of their customers in 2018, 19, and obviously during the pandemic, start really like asking, can I shop online? I know your brand. I don't want to come to the single-owned stores. So that's why Lals Group decided to go into this digital journey. And they're definitely not online first. If anything, they're trying to go from offline first to omnichannel. And as most of us here probably on this call and most of the listeners would know, that omnichannel is not that easy to achieve. But the benefit that we have in this side of the world is that it was a greenfield project. So the technologies are a lot newer. We don't have legacy. So for us, omnichannel became a lot more achievable and a lot faster. So I think Lals Group is now, first step was get e-commerce launched for them for each of the brands, and now they are in that journey of trying to make it as omnichannel as possible across not just click and collect, but returns, all the products, and even when consumers come in store, they want to offer you the full range, and that's only achievable with the omnichannel effect.
Dharmendra, when obviously you're part of kind of the transformation committee, I would say for the Lals Group. So, and Lina is like also part of it because she's working in some of the projects. But when you're discussing online strategies like customer journeys, where to put your money on Facebook, Google, other platforms. So how big is a part of this conversation still attributed to convincing your colleagues with retail heritage that online is the right way to go, and how much is it like really focusing on an online pure journey?
I think fortunately for us, we have a mandate from the executive. So both our founder, Mr. Lal himself, and our CEO, Mr. Jayant Ganwani, are actually leading the transformation. So to that extent, everybody's aligned. I think we get a lot of support in terms of whatever's needed to make sure that each of these brands is successful. So within the organization, that realization sunk in probably early 2020 that we really needed to have a digital part of the business as well. And with that clear mandate that we are building one more additional store for each of the brands, the brand heads also kind of collaborate, right? So each of the user journeys, because they're category specific and you need to build different user journeys for each different product category. So the home journey is slightly different from the mother and baby journey. And we actually create those specific journeys for each of these brands on the mobile application, on the website, which is very specific to those brands. And here we work very closely with the leadership team for each of these brands. And there is a lot of support. I think the question, like you keep saying, Alex, it's not about what or how, it's about when it's going to happen. And that realization, I think, came in 2020. So we are all kind of focused on building e-commerce as a very viable and sustainable part of the business, along with the heritage retail business.
Maybe let's focus a bit more like on the home and living segment. So in Europe, my understanding there's very, very few brands in home and living. So every retailer, might it be IKEA, obviously they are their own brand, but the Lals Group or others, they have a kind of an easy time of selling stuff because it's very hard to compare in the market. So is it different in your region? Is it more brand focused when people are buying furniture, for example? Do they want to buy furniture from Lals, or do they want to buy a specific sofa brand within Lals?
I think both. So if you look at the journey for each consumer, there are two sets of people who are here. One is this entire migration of people that happens regularly. You have new talent that's constantly coming into the region, and these are first time home buyers, and their need to buy a product is probably not all of furniture, but they need very specific requirements. You need one recliner, one sofa, one coffee table. And these customers are searching for a product. But people who've been living in the region for a long time, they find our brands are synonymous with the region. So for example, Home Zaris, which is our home and retail, home and furniture store, is synonymous with best product, best category, very local taste that we kind of provide from our category assortment perspective. And therefore, customers who are searching for the second time buys or their upgrades actually shop more and more with the brand. So from a competition landscape perspective, you have entry price point brands and you have mid and premium segment brands, which is where we play. And then you have the luxury brands. So we would probably be competing with probably one notch above IKEA with brands in the region.
What is a typical customer journey? Then are those customers that are buying on Homes R Us, are those customers that know the store from the retail experience, or are these like new one customers through online channels?
It's a decent mix because online is supposed to acquire new customers, and that is what happens. So when all our Google search ads and our reach and frequency campaigns are more diverted towards people who are not aware of the brand, and in their user journey, they are looking for a product specifically and not for the brand. But we also get about 50% of our traffic is also direct. So consumers are searching for the brand and they come to us.
And before I hand over to Lina for some questions, and if you like do a geo IP mapping, so where are the customers coming from specifically, do you see a much higher share of visitors from the regions where you have a store, or is it kind of evenly distributed?
No, I think it comes from the region where we have stores. I think if you look at the UAE specifically, it is 60% Dubai as an e-commerce market. And our e-commerce also reflects that. And so does our retail footprint. So for us, Dubai is the larger market. Abu Dhabi is probably about 25-30%. And the other Emirates are about 10-15%. But that's common across most retailers. We recently launched in Qatar, and there also we're seeing a similar trend of, the micro markets where stores are present. We find a lot more consumers buying from us.
Got it. Lina, should I hand over to you or should I follow my question here?
No, maybe we will switch, as now Dharam, kind of nicely started, the whole e-commerce and introduced the brand. I think what would be interesting to hear his views about the e-commerce and the changing trend, sort of growth versus profitability. And do you think that the growth era of e-commerce is sort of coming to slow down? And we really now need to focus on how to win over in the long term. I believe in this region, we were always very profit focused, but maybe you're seeing a different trend, and now there's the whole world going from growth to profitability. What's your take, and how do you see it, the e-commerce in the region?
No, I think very interesting question, and we keep talking about this often, right? So if you just take a step back and understand where all this started was the GMV focused startups, and that is where I come from in my previous life, was building marketplace in an Asian market where capital was not easily available, and therefore smart entrepreneurs found that the venture capital route was the easiest to kind of get started with funding. And therefore, what happened was the VC's KPI, which was market share, became the KPI of the business, and everybody started doing the biggest and the fastest and the largest, startups that started coming up. On a lighter note, I even saw an ad which said we are the fastest company to reach $1 billion run rate. I mean, what does that even mean? It's the run rate that you're talking about. It's the fastest run rate I have. So, but it didn't mean anything to me. But from the post-pandemic situation perspective, even in those markets, what happened was sustainable growth versus growth at any cost became the theme. And a lot of those businesses which were running for growth at any cost have now, they've kind of now become more focused on sustainable, profitable ways of doing business. Specifically in this region, because capital was always funded by either a family or personal wealth, it was always a very highly focused on profit kind of a region. Even with us, that's how the business is run, right? So e-commerce is a new segment, but it is funded by personal wealth which has come from other businesses, right? And therefore, the focus on profitability is very, very high. And that's how we deal with it even within the group. But on the flip side, when the GMV focus goes away, I think, and this is my personal opinion, that innovation actually dies slowly, because those moonshot ideas and your daily innovation actually take a backseat, and because you remain within the box to try to get your cost line items in place at all times, and therefore those bright ideas of to be the Star Trek boys and say I want to boldly go where no man has gone before. I think that kind of takes a backseat, and when you look at it at a market level, when everyone's doing the same thing, it could be a bit of a risk. So you need some of these guys who are driving the moonshot ideas, the big GMV drivers.
But what about, considering you are looking after quite a distinct set of segments like mother and baby, like a fashion and the furniture, right? So home furniture and accessories. Do you see that even the profitability is sort of interpreted differently, because obviously you have different margins and quite a different user journeys. So any differences you see, between the different industries?
Oh, yes, absolutely. I think when you look at it, both markets, both industries are very, very different. You have the mother and baby segment is extremely competitive. You have Amazon vying for that category. You have Noon, which is the local big marketplace that's vying for the category. There's First Cry. There's Mum's World. So there's a lot of competition there. At the same time, while everybody believes that, this is a user journey for 5 years, when from the time the mother decides to embark on a motherhood journey to actually, the child is 5 to 7 years old. But one thing that we should remember is this end user of the product actually outgrows the product in every 2 weeks, if not 2 months. And therefore, you need to constantly keep buying, and you need to be in top of mind space with the mom to constantly keep giving her the right product. So therefore, it's a very different category. You need to keep acquiring new consumers all the time, and you need to keep engaging with them through more channels. So the more you build the community, the more you build the mother's information. You become the mother's information channel. I think you become more relevant to her, and then price goes out of context. But again, from a margins perspective, because these are ubiquitous products, they are the same products available everywhere. Pricing is always a consideration and you always play the game there, right? But on other categories like home, for example, it is a different industry altogether. It's more a logistics business than and how soon can you get the right product to the right consumer? And how do you showcase the right products to each customer based on their journey with you? I think that's where that's where the entire business lies. So, and that's what we are focused on building.
Nice. So now you touch base. Yeah.
Could I get back like just 1 minute to your statements about like the GMV focused go-to-market ambitions of former startups? So would you say that regardless if it's furniture or mom and kids fashion, would you say right now there's no chance for a venture capital driven business to enter the market? Let's say they're building the biggest home and living platform, whatever, like 20 times the selection of Homes R Us, giving out discount codes like every other week on every channel. So you would not be afraid of such a thing because you've seen that it's not working out on a long run and that customers are focusing on other things. Is that what I understand, right?
Yes, absolutely. I think also what's happening is customers are becoming more informed with all that technology is doing. They're making choices based on, their decisions are based on choices that they make and they really understand. And one trend that's definitely coming up is people are moving away from marketplaces to mono-sites. So people will start shopping more and more on homeservice.com as compared to, buying for furniture from marketplace. So the more you build value for consumers to keep coming back there.
Why do you think this happens?
When customers are looking for, in their journey, they're looking for a product at a price and where they're looking for selection. I think that's where the journey starts for the market from a marketplace. However, the experiential customer who knows what they want, they come to the brand, right? And you're seeing that migration happen. A lot of customers who want that experience of getting that welcome email every time they shop, or that experience of, getting a product delivered at their convenience when they want from the brand. They really want to shop with brands. You see this happening even in the fashion business, right? Where customers who buy non-branded products start buying branded products during end of season sales. And then those customers become users of brands and in their journey, they start buying full price products. And the same journey continues in the home and furniture business as well.
Can I just add one thing? Because, I see it, like just to kind of confirm what Dharmendra is saying. So I work with a lot of customers across different industries. And what started maybe the fastest way of entering e-commerce was to list your products on the marketplace. Now, retailers realize, one, that why, they don't have any access to the data and they don't understand who their consumers are. So if you like, furnishing business, what's the next collection? We don't have any data what products sold in the previous collection, what sort of type of even products customers are looking. So that was one challenge. But the second challenge, retailers said, okay, why I should use marketplace as my outlet store and I should use my mono site to launch new collections to provide that exclusivity to our loyal customers. So if they know about us, they should come to our website and discover what's new, what's the latest, what's the greatest. And even if we decide to give the discount, at least they get that discount from us directly, as Dharmendra mentioned. And now the marketplace, at least in this part of the world, becoming like my outlet store, which I never had it or could never afford, maybe to build it just as an outlet store. And they're giving I have clients that giving in fashion 3 seasons back, items to sell it to them to move it fast. So I definitely agree what Dharmendra said. And also, I think consumers, as you mentioned earlier, consumers becoming very, very well educated and consumers realizing that if you want new, if you want the cutting edge, and if you want to get that personalized touch from the brand, you go on the mono brand side. Because 3 years ago, 4 years ago, we didn't have a lot of mono sites. So consumer had only option. If you want new, you go to the store, or if you want fast, you go to the marketplace. But now mono site is becoming very strong and you can get new and fast from the mono brand.
And Dharmendra, so you are overviewing now 3 brands, 1 from the furniture, 2 from the kids sector. Does it make sense from your point of view to connect those brands on like the customers on one platform? So let's say you have a customer buying something from Carter's, where okay, he's buying kids' clothes, so most likely he needs like a new kid's reliable sofa in a year. He gets like the Homes Are Us newsletter. Is it something you're doing, or will you see some value in it?
Absolutely, a lot of value in doing it.
Okay. But now it's like 3 platforms, or at least three outlets, and there's more like in the Lals Group I get you're running. So how do you look at it like from an IT org perspective? So how do you get it running? So how much of the online to-dos can you do in-house? How many of those online to-do do you need to outsource to agencies?
So because we were starting off small, we treat the e-commerce team as a startup within the big group. We're a team of about 25 people all put together, but most of our engineering bandwidth is outsourced. We have one partner dedicated who we work with. And so our front end is managed through that team. And then we have a back end integration, which is a group level ERP that we work with. So
Dharmendra, now, as you mentioned earlier around the discounts and then very different user journeys, I think you will agree with me that a lot of GCC players have a lot of discounts 365 days a year. And I think this is very common in this part of the world, but maybe very different in Europe and the US. So do you think that consumers, because you have a very good understanding of customer journeys for different sectors, do you think that we as consumers here are addicted to discounting? And I would say that if you ask clients that even I have in Europe, they would say if you keep discounting it to keep your customer, you kind of already failed. So what's your take on it, and how do you perceive the whole discounting?
Well, I think it's a curse of the consumer-based economy, right? Where discounting really is becoming a part of the conversation more than it should be. Probably 10 years ago when I was leading a fashion and lifestyle retail department store, one of my core KPIs was full price season sell-through. Today, that KPI doesn't even exist, right? So, but that's because of the way the business has evolved, So the way I see it is, if you look at retail as a business, it's a 10,000-year-old business, right? As a concept, it's been there forever, and it's always been working on these on 3 levers of service, selection, and price. And until probably 30 years ago, what was happening was the experiences of these 3 levers were available within the box, within a retail store. So a customer had to come to my store, shop at a convenient time, and with a finite number of customers. But as we got into e-commerce and as marketplaces came about, this entire system got democratized. So 2 things happened. One, top of the funnel, there was an explosion of demand, and every brand was trying to capture that demand. Now, to build service and selection is a time-taking process, but pricing became the easy weapon to kind of acquire customers, right? So to pull customers down from top of the funnel quickly, everyone started doing the price game, right? And also what started happening is, on the other side, on a larger, perspective, retail was always about events to buy, and these were either festivals or seasons, and there was always some reason for you to buy new clothes, buy new furniture, buy a new home. These were spread out across the year, and therefore you had end of season sales and things. But with this entire consumers coming, getting empowered to shop anywhere, anytime, this entire journey has changed completely. So now you need 365 days of festivals, because you need to keep talking. You need to remain relevant to your consumers every single day. And while you are acquiring new consumers, you also need to keep retaining customers, right? And therefore, pricing today has become that daily festival where people have to come and shop with you. But as you see, as brands spend more and more time, energy, effort, money building the right user journeys, building more moats for their businesses, I think the discounting frenzy will probably go away. And at the same time, I think the consumer is really smart. They only pay for the value they perceive is right. And irrespective of where they are shopping, in what segment they shop, they are very, very clear about what true value they can derive out of every transaction that they do. So they will only pay you as much as they think is fit for that product.
But does it mean, and obviously I'm just surfing on your websites, and this kind of discount vouchers are very prominent on top of the sites. If you would get rid of those voucher codes initially, where it says like 50% season voucher, or I think on Carter's it's saying join the family and get 40% off every time you shop, which creates obviously kind of a discount expectation for the customers. So if you would now delete this kind of banners, you'd say that the conversion rate of the websites will go down immediately. Is this correct?
Oh, yes, absolutely. I think so. One of the challenges of a new business is always that you don't have enough database to, kind of retarget. And therefore you adopt in early days, you adopt these strategies of, quick discounting, like Lina was saying before, right? You're also competing with the marketplaces and you need to bring in those consumers, right? So today, some of these brands may be dependent on on buying traffic to come to the site. And therefore some of these offers are available. However, eventually the journey that we are building is for like you said, how at the group level, how can we have a loyalty program where all these brands can participate and consumers get more out of just other than just discounts, right? So till the time we build those user journeys, experiences around service and around selection, pricing still remains, that tactical it remains a go-to tactic to kind of get customers into you.
And can you go a bit more in detail into the customer journey itself? Are you still like running campaigns like on Google, Facebook, Instagram, or some other channels? Or is there kind of a hidden growth channel in GCC, which you can share with us?
No, I think it's very similar to what it is in the West. So there are certain product categories that do better from a reach and frequency perspective. So Meta really works for those categories, and there are certain categories where you really want to be on top of mind of the customer journey, right? So if the customer's need is a product or a brand, then Google makes a lot of sense, and then we spend a lot of time building those campaigns. But when it comes to reach and frequency, smaller ticket size products which are more impulse to buy, then we look at Meta and the other areas of how to reach to consumers.
Okay.
So as you're talking about social media, digital marketing, pretty much paid media side, so data is a big part of improving that customer experience and kind of. I have a customer that recently started looking from customers once they enter the site. And I said, no, we need to start tracking right from the first ad that they saw and how many times they saw it and did they click yes or no and X, Y, and Z. So what sort do you analyze data, and if you do, how often? And then from that onwards, maybe you can elaborate more on the KPIs that you track or hold your management team accountable for.
No, absolutely. I think data is the reason why this business is so important. I think everything that we track is right from the beginning of each of the channels or where the customers actually come to the website or the mobile app and what their journey has been through, right? What are the pages they went to? What were the events they clicked? What all did they do? So I think that really works. I think that is where the focus is. From a KPI perspective, I think there are two important aspects here in the business. One is the demand generation, and the second is the supply and fulfillment. So the demand teams really work on generating traffic that is high intent, who want to come and buy with us. And for them, therefore, their KPIs are cost per acquisition, conversion, the order values they drive. And the supply side then works with fulfillment stats, and they have speed of delivery, accuracy of delivery, and their fulfillment speed. So they work on those kind of KPIs. So if you look at the management meets that we have every week, the team within the e-commerce division works on these two fronts, right? So you create an overarching business plan, and then the demand team works with their KPIs of bringing consumers in, and the supply division starts working on fulfilling those and making sure that conversion KPIs are always met.
And what about the harder KPIs like market share, profit improvement, which I guess is related to you? Because it's quite hard to be tracking that in the GCC. How are you finding it? And do you first track it? And if so, is it getting better, worse for the e-commerce business?
Oh, no, absolutely. I think we track all of those. And I think the starting point of any business plan is market share, right? So how much can you do? And from a profitability perspective, it's always about at what in initial days, at what burn can you achieve growth and scale. So these are always considerations, and the leadership meetings are always about, for the next quarter, this is our objective, and we want to go after growth, or do we want to scale down and be more profitable? And that's how the business takes direction.
Just one question about your statement that retail was always about price, selection, and service. usually the online players say that kind of the convenience aspect of getting those three pillars is way better. It's easier to access the whole like collection because it's just one click. You have all this filter stuff, but they do have a very hard time to add services. In the furniture industry, we saw with some players that tried to add this kind of high-end logistics service. We bring the sofa to you. We will put it in your living room. We will take the old sofa out, and it's a low friction process. Is this something you can also offer and which makes a difference compared especially to the marketplaces you just mentioned? Because that's where I would expect the difference comes from. I might find a similar sofa on a marketplace, but you might provide kind of this special delivery thing. Or are there other startups now focusing on this logistic pillar?
No, I think that's where the strength of the base of our business lies. And that's because we're essentially a logistics company, right? And we understand what it takes to move furniture into your house, what it takes to install it, and what kind of accessories will go along with when you want to complete the look. So that's the kind of, even if you look at our website, most of the collections we have are across. So they're collections, right? So you could have the same collection in your drawing room and in your bedroom as well. And then you could have accents that go across the house, right? So that's how our customers also perceive us. And if you look at our sales of collections, they're really high with us. And it comes for this reason because it gets installed at one go. You get the same look and feel for your home. If you were doing up your kid's bedroom, for example, everything you do with it comes at one time. It gets installed. You have a team of technicians who visit you. After sales service is really important. If you need some repairs, you need to move something around. I think this is where the difference lies. And because this is a brand that's been in the region for a long time, that trust factor with customers also exists.
And going back again to like how fast this shift happens into online, can you share some market numbers? So from all furniture sold in the regions where we are active, so what is like the online share for furniture? I think in Europe, we are now close to like 20% or so, 15% still. It's a very, very brick and mortar focused market. In fashion, we are way higher, close to 40%. Electronics, obviously very high. But what is this with the segments you're active in? What is the market share in your region?
I think we're somewhere between 7 to 10% at a market level. And it's largely also because most of the brands are doing their omnichannel journey. So even in stores, you can see a larger catalog, so there's a kiosk and you can actually browse a larger catalog. You can order from store. So it's kind of seamless there. And from most competitors also where we're seeing, I think about 7 to 10% is where most of them are kind of getting contributions from their online business.
So talking about furniture and online business, a number of furniture retailers post-COVID said, so obviously they had a significant growth during the pandemic, and after the pandemic, they're seeing like quite a slowdown. So what about you and Homes R Us? Because you kind of launched during COVID, so you kind of did not really have numbers prior to COVID. But do you see now that the market is slowing down, especially for online furniture, or you are continuing still growing month over month?
I think we are a very new business. So for us, the impact of all these is very small, and we continue to grow month on month. If you look at the market, what's happening is there's a lot of new people coming into the region now. You're seeing all that the government is doing to bring in new talent across from all the world markets, right? So a lot of these new home makers are coming. Also, the impact of certain countries where there is uncertainty right now because of various situations. A lot of that population is also moving here to the region. So homes are still getting sold, and therefore a lot of home and furniture buying is happening. And therefore you're seeing in the region, you're seeing still the trend is very positive on the furniture business.
And online, right? So positives also
of course, and online. Oh yeah. And a lot of these consumers are coming are next generation, the Gen Y, Gen Z, and they are more used to buying online than going to the store.
And for let's maybe focus for the last part of the podcast, maybe on the two other sections, the mom stores and Carters. What is the customer loyalty on those products? If you like getting a customer on Carters, offline or online, is this customer loyal to the brand for the lifetime of the child? So I'm not saying the child is dying, but obviously it's somewhere in the future it will grow out of this kind of assortment. So how many years can you serve a customer in these categories?
So I think ideally what you can do is actually serve a customer for 5 to 7 years. I think that's what
so long
is the assumption, because right from the time the child is born to the time the child is about 7 years old, you have brands which kind of cater to these, right? So there are some 0 to 2 year brands, and then there are 2 to 5 year brands, and then 5 to 7 year brands. So that's how, from an assortment perspective, you can. However, the child, like you said, rightly outgrows the product very soon. And therefore, people are constantly looking to buy new products. And the reason for the existence of marketplaces in this category is this, that you repeatedly need to keep buying. You need to keep buying new shoes, new clothes, new back to school items, and always, you need an upgrade happening from the child as well. So it is a very competitive category because pricing plays a very big part here, especially for essentials. But from a assortment perspective, what you have to do is, there are consumers who know exactly what they want for their child, and they will buy only those certain kind of brands or products. But there are others who have a price point consideration, which is the larger chunk of the population, and who are looking to buy.
Are the brands sold at Mum Store and Carter's, are those similar to the Western world brands? Or are there many brands that are super specific to your region?
These are all global brands. So Carter's, for example, is the world's oldest kids wear brand and the largest. It's about a 200-year-old brand. We are franchisees of the brand here in the region. Mom Store is our own brand. It's our own homegrown, locally born in the UAE brand, and it's a department store for kids wear and the mother, where we bring in international brands from Europe across apparel and non-apparel categories like car seats, strollers, outdoor furniture, etc. And it's an assortment for a mom to get all her basic needs right from the time the child is born till the time the child is about 5-6 years old.
So in this mother and baby category, as you mentioned, assortment plays a really key role. And the mother, I'm a mother, so I completely agree that we constantly look, even the child changes, so what they liked, when they're 1 year old, they don't no longer like, when they're 3 year old, so they have like opinion. But do you look into making Mom Store maybe like a marketplace? So pretty much, onboarding non-your brands and doing like a drop shipping model. Is that something as a planning, and is it something on the cards?
No, I don't think so, because we are essentially retailers at heart, right? So for us, it is Mom Store online is one more store. And whatever catalog we can carry in the store is what's available in online. Maybe there's a small extended catalog of outdoor furniture, etc., which you can't carry in stores because of space constraints. But other than that, we would probably not look at becoming a marketplace. I think that's a different business model altogether, and we are not following that.
Looking forward into like 2023, and I guess also like recession, inflation will hit like the GCC region, maybe not as hard as like other region. Is there something you're looking forward in particular, some like big movement into like the online industry? Because like we are just coming out of Corona, which obviously helped also your brands. Do you see like swing back into the brick and mortar retail space, or will it be like a flourishing 2023 for the e-commerce businesses of the Lals Group?
Well, I'd hope that it is flourishing for the e-commerce business, but we're seeing that customers are buying in both places, right? So if you look at the overlap in our brands, I think about 20% of customers shop both online and in store. So that's already a trend. So it is for us to kind of build that journey for customers to keep making it more rewarding for them to keep shopping with us. And as long as we are able to seamlessly tell them that, irrespective of where you shop, you get the same experience. And for example, click and collect is also about 15 to 20% of our orders are now click and collect, where consumers find it convenient to go to a store and pick it up at their convenience at the time they want to. And as long as we're able to build these journeys and make it more rewarding for consumers, I think they will keep us rewarded with shopping at both online and in the store.
So how do you trust the technology, and does the technology actually play a key role in helping you build these journeys? And now we have a big topic, headless. So what's your take on headless? And do you, because you're trying to make that journey seamless, are you looking into different technology stacks, to help you with that?
Oh, yes. I think one of the advantages of being a late entrant in the market is a lot of technologies have already evolved, and the opportunities for us to pick and choose what really works for us. I think when we were building the business, we were still, figuring out what are the right infrastructure that we need to build from a front end, back end perspective. So we chose to go with, what was easy and, you can do a plug and play and drag and drop kind of approach to, start working. But as we evolve, the business will need more and more technologies to start working together. And that's where we're looking at, and headless, of course, is going to be one of those answers where we look at, how whatever investments we've made in technology so far don't go waste. And we are able to kind of seamlessly integrate it to the next level of work, right? So that's how we're seeing it.
Another last question from you, closing the podcast, Lina. What did you always wanted to know? I know you have like a project related relationship here, but maybe there's like one question you always wanted to ask Dharmendra on the record.
No, I think even to take, maybe, so Dharmendra is actually a very strong leader in the e-commerce space, and it's quite hard to find these leaders, in the GCC region. I don't know, most of them may be sitting in Germany, Alex, or the US, but quite difficult with talent in the GCC. And if you get them, they choose to work in the startups. So as a retailer, we definitely do struggle, with e-commerce heads. But Dharmendra is actually very, strong and understands the sector really well. So I just want your maybe personal view, what do you think the 2023 looks like in terms of whether you take it tech, whether you take it marketing or consumer shift in consumer behavior? What do you predict the trends we will see in 2023?
So I think largely consumers are becoming more demanding. They are very clear about what they want. They're making the choices based on the information you give them. So the big themes of, sustainability, ethical sourcing are really becoming the talk of, are becoming normal conversation now. And the more you're able to provide that information to your consumers and tell them, what are the sources where your products are coming from, and how you treat your teams, how you, kind of build your entire infrastructure, how the more transparent you are with your consumers, the more they're going to be loyal to you. And that's how that's what we're seeing is happening now, right? So customers like to engage with happy salespeople, and they also want to know what the origin or the source of origin of their product is, and that is going to be a very big trend. I think the sooner businesses kind of start working towards making that information very easily available to consumers, I think that's going to be a challenge.
So we're looking sustainability, and maybe you will start selling recycled sofas next year?
Yes, refurbished. I think re-commerce is big, and there's a big market for it. And we always get people asking us, can I get a refurbished one, or can you give me a last piece? So there is that opportunity, but it's a different consumer segment, and we need to really answer what the user journey is going to be. But I think once we do it, then there's an opportunity there for sure.
Yeah. Maybe we shouldn't start with refurbed sofas. Maybe there are other categories that are working better. But let's see about it. Thank you, Dharmendra. Very interesting, very insightful. Thank you, Lina. See you in the GCC region.